When you think of the best racetracks in North America, you think of places like Road America, Road Atlanta, Watkins Glen, and Laguna Seca. It's not often that everyone remembers the track just north of the border in Bowmanville, Ontario, the track everyone calls Mosport. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the second round of the GridLife Sim City Challenge presented by Valvoline. This is round 2 of 3 before our season finale that will happen at the Luxor Hotel at SEMA. We're going to qualify our top 16 GridLife iRacers and pick 8 of the fastest people at SEMA to join us at a 24-driver finale at Road Atlanta with the Porsche 992 Cup car. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Tom O'Gorman for week number 2. Tom, great music in the backdrop and a great racetrack to race on tonight.
It's one of my favorite racetracks, and yeah, we've officially finished the real-life season as far as GridLife is concerned, which means it's kind of correct to now shift into the sim racing world. And this is the second of 4 rounds that will, as you said, kind of culminate in that SEMA round, which will be so much fun in a couple of weeks. But this week we have our only multi-make race of the entire season with GT4s.
Yeah, so you mentioned multi-make. Well, there is the Porsche Cayman 718 GT4 Club Sport, the BMW M4, and the new to iRacing McLaren 570S GT4. They all have their own individual character, Tom. They're all really fun to drive, but I think they have distinct differences in how they drive. The McLaren, I think, is probably the most shocking from the other two, given that it drives the most like a street car.
It does. That's because in real life, it is basically a street car with a roll cage bolted into it. They sell it. So we have the Porsche Cayman, the BMW M4, and the McLaren 570 GT4. There is a good look at our top running 570. That is Kyle Herbst, who was the quickest in qualifying and the only McLaren in the top 20. Then we had a couple of BMWs that were looking pretty successful. Both of those cars are obviously a turbocharged engine, but the McLaren, a twin turbocharged V8, the BMW, a twin turbo or a single turbo, I can't remember, 6-cylinder. Then we have the naturally aspirated Porsche. But I will say the Porsche, here driven by Marc-Antoine Blaise, is the kind of generally accepted the fastest car here at Mosport. So we got a bunch of weenies driving those.
It looks like the popular choice is the Porsche, and this was the first GT4 car that iRacing released, and it's seen some changes since it was released, and I think it's gained a lot of drivability, and personally it's my favorite car to drive just dynamically. In terms of pace, so I think it still has the upper advantage, but those driving the McLaren, those driving the BMW here for a little bit of variety, and you mentioned Kyle Herbst in that McLaren 570S right at the front, nice solid blue livery. Again, big thanks to Valvoline for helping us put this on. They'll be sponsoring our GridLife Game Night at the Luxor Hotel on November 4th, and our season finale, again, will be the top 24 drivers, 16 here from GridLife iRacers, and 8 that will qualify on-site at SEMA, and those 24 will race the 992 Cup car at Road Atlanta in a GLTC format style event on that night. It will be broadcasted live on YouTube. It's going to be a blast, so make sure that you join us for that. But qualifying underway here, Tom, let's remind everybody how we do these events tonight. We have 2 heats, an LCQ, and a feature event. So how does this work, Tom?
So we got a series of 4 races, as you mentioned, and right now we're watching a 2-lap qualifying. This will determine the top, the entire rundown of qualifying. Then our odds and evens will go into heat races. Our odds will race, then our evens will race. The top 30 of each of those races will go into the final no matter what, but the bottom group will go into a last chance qualifier. That, in the last chance qualifier, will determine the top 10 that race their way into that final group. Then we'll see our feature races. You see a number of our drivers getting caught out by turn 5, Moss Corner here at Mosport.
Well, let's take this opportunity to show what Canadian Tire Motorsports Park or Mosport looks like from the sky. Here's a look at our track map. Tom, take me through a lap here. You've competed here in a TCR car and some other machines. Tell me what it takes to get around a lap here.
Well, this is such a cool track. It's absolutely the most intimidating and fun track I've been to. And if you can picture it, if you've driven on a real track in the real world, whatever the scariest corner you've ever been on, this track is 9 of those plus a hairpin. So we start with a little bit of a downhill sweep into turn 1, very, very fast, then uphill into turn 2, almost flat out in these cars, just a little bit of drag of the brakes, and then we sweep way downhill into turn number 3, uphill back into turn 4, all of these corners well over 100 miles an hour, and then we drop way down into that one hairpin that I mentioned. That's Moss Corner at turns 5, A, B, and C. You really have to tuck in for a lady pecs to get up the big back straightaway. They call it turns 6 and 7, but it's literally just flat out bending to the right into turn 8. Then turn 8 is a really interesting passing opportunity depending on whether or not you have the power, which we do have multi-make racing tonight, through a decreasing radius turns 8, 9, and 10, each one tighter than the last. So this track is very easy to defend at, I would say. But with multi-make racing, a couple of cars make better straight line speed than others. We could have some really good racing tonight.
We really could have some good racing tonight. I'm very excited to bring it to you here at Grid Life. Again, as we head down to the racetrack for the first of our 2 heats, this is essentially our inside row. The outside row is going to go next. And you see those 2 gold bars on the left-hand side of your screen. The bottom gold bar, Bauman and up, those are the drivers that if they were to finish as they are, would immediately advance to that feature race. So we're taking the top 15 from these first 2 races, and those are the drivers that move on to the feature. So right now, Wyatt Gooden on pole alongside Paul Darling for this first heat race. We've got James Houghton here. Again, this is actually sort of a home race for him, at least in the virtual world.
It is. He was here yesterday, driving at this track in real world yesterday. So he's one of the only drivers that has gotten to race this track in the Grid Life community in the last year, I would say, or even 18 months. But he will be racing his way towards the front, I imagine. So we have Wyatt Good and Paul Darling sharing the front row on those Caymans. But then the first of our BMW competitors, Andrew Pilata, who was... is he in the BMW? There he is now in the number 52. He will be one of the first drivers that is not driving that Lemming car, and he'll be a lot of fun to watch because the BMW, as you mentioned, very fast in a straight line.
James Houghton gets extra points for winning the Valvoline livery in the Valvoline sponsored series, so that's a good way to get some airtime here. So thanks, James. Brian Heitkotter is here, as you mentioned, Tom. Heitkotter really shocked me last week. We've seen him compete in the past in some SRO esports stuff, but also here in Grid Life iRacers, and he never really embraced iRacing, I think, fully, but here he sits starting 6th in this round. He should be a force to be reckoned with. David Santel is here in 10th. A handful of other Grid Life iRacer regulars. Anthony Montello of Lazy Rocket Vinyls here down in 18th. Alex Arteat, who just won the Street GT title in Time Attack, is running the M4. Of course he is, with the Not Fast Motorsports Turn-In Concepts livery, very much like the one he drives in Street GT.
Almost identical, in fact, other than that he paid a lot less for his in real life, I imagine, than you would for in real life at one of these GT4 cars.
Absolutely. And
hey, check that one out. The bottom left, that is a great livery for Darian Taggart.
Oh, that's
gotta
lovely.
love that car.
You knew that was coming, didn't you?
I might have seen it in practice.
It looks great. It's even got the Tombo face on the back of it. So that's another easy way to guarantee yourself some airtime. I love when people have fun with the liveries. Here's a look at your starting lineup on the left-hand side of your screen, at least the top 15, and you can see the rash of Porsches up there in the top 15, but also a handful of McLarens. The first McLaren being Will Robbins all the way back in 14th. That's a bit of a shocker.
It is a bit of a surprise, but I think we'll see a couple of those further up the field in the evens race, which will come up next. Again, 2 heat races here. The top 15 both automatically race their way into the feature. Then the rest of the drivers of the 30 on the grid will go into the last chance qualifier. So we're going to be paying very close attention to that race for 15th.
And again, we just had just shy of 60 entrants, so our format is almost full. We've got 29 drivers in this heat. We'll have something very similar to that in the second heat coming up here in just a minute. So lots of exciting things happening here as we head down the hill towards Moss Corner. We get a great shot from high above here as we drop down the hill. But Tom, this elevation change, there's not really a lot that can prepare you for how much that tumble is, even in the simulator here in iRacing.
No, nothing at all like it. And it's a 10-story drop from that Continental Bridge all the way down to the bottom, and then you rise back up about 5 stories towards the camera here at us before you slow yourself down to this decreasing radius late apex corner that leads you onto the back straightaway. It is so challenging. And in slower cars, it can be a pretty good passing zone, but in these GT4 cars, it tends to be pretty single file, but a bit of a stack-up point. So things will maybe get interesting there at Moss Corner in this race.
So doubling up now, Paul Darling in the 155. Alongside Wyatt Gooden in the number 49, Andrew Pilata in 3rd, Darian Taggart 4th, and Jacob Bessemer, Brian Heitkotter, James Houghton, Jake Gertzen, Mark Labance, David Santel, your top 10, then Talas Sadiq, Nathan Adler, Chris Harp, Will Robbins, Max Bauman, Val DiPietro, Josh Lepetri, Anthony Montello, Benson Tai, and Alex Arteat are your top 20 for heat number 1. Again, only 15 will advance to the feature race automatically. The bottom 15 will have to duke it out for 10 spots in the last chance qualifier. The Grid Life Sim City Challenge, round number 2 of 4 from Mosport. Time to go racing this time through. We're going green. Green flag flies and we're racing in the Grid Life iRacers Sim City Challenge.
Oh, it's such a short front straightaway means the green flag comes out super early. You see the top couple of rows are already single file, but then double file down into this really fast sweeping turn number 1. But it is Wyatt Gooden that gets a little bit of a breakaway. Darian Taggart closes the door across the nose of Andrew Pilata to seal the top 3.
Down the hill now through turn 2 on cold tires. This is very dicey. You do not want to drop tires off here. In the real world, it's all paved on exit now. Here in iRacing, it's still grass. You do not want to put a tire off.
Around the outside, Pilata gets the position for third in turn 3, and he holds the point. A couple of cars get a little bit loose coming off of turn 3, but it looks like Taggart is going to submit the position to Pilata. The BMW through to third.
That was really dicey. Heading down the hill now, jumps the curb and into Moss Corner now. Whoa, I hear some cars going around. And is there somebody off? It's Mark Labance. And one other driver involved. There's some damage there.
Labance running that beautiful Toyota livery, a throwback, or not necessarily a throwback, but a reference to one of the Formula D Toyota Corollas. Looks like he might have gotten a little bit collected up the inside, just a little bit of a touch.
Yeah, I mean, was not quite able to keep it on course, so slides backwards and into the path of a competitor. Meanwhile, Wyatt Gooden out front, Paul Darling in second, Andrew Pilata, Heitkotter, Darian Taggart, the rest of the top 5. And here's a battle, Alex Artea. He's up five spots here in this first lap. He is flying forward and now has Will Robbins in his sight as one driver, James Houghton's off.
Oh, no. On the last corner, gets a little bit of a tank slap maybe. I'm not sure if he got help, but he gets into the tire walls. He sure did get help. Jacob Bessemer in the number 41 turns him at the apex, and that corner is so tempting to show the nose up the inside because it is that decreasing turns 8, 9, and 10. You want to throw the car up the inside, but then all of a sudden the car from the outside turns in on you.
Down the hill now, that's Chris Harp in the 462 and Max Baumann in the number 18. Baumann is in the McLaren 570S. We ride on board. Oh, one car off in front of them. That's Talas Sadiq dropping tires in the grass. Did a great job gathering it back up and keeping it on course. Again, you got the car loaded up there, so it's really easy to step it off track. More trouble behind. I heard some cars sliding, and yes, it's Matthew Morhart. That's a big one. That's coming down the hill.
He's going to be able to continue, but the car is crabbing, and oh no, is that the second incident for Mark Labance, getting collected twice at the same point on the track, both times through. That's going to be very, very frustrating, but well outside the top 15. Here's the battle for 15 itself. Josh LePatry, I think, is the car on the bubble.
Yeah, he was battling for it last week as well, and here he sits just on the bubble with Benson Ty, the driver behind. That's that multicolored, very Adam Jabay looking BMW M4. Kind of looks like Adam's GLTC Civic. And he's got a handful of drivers in front of him he needs to pass. Well, at least one of them, LePatry in the kind of beige Cayman's the one on the chopping block. Whoa, spin! Oh, lock the brakes up, right back into traffic. Everybody scatters. Nicely done.
Pulls it forward to get out of the way, and these cars do have driver aids available, but you can choose to run them or not. And it looks like Benson Ty maybe choosing not to run them, and the traction control or lack thereof is what allows him to kind of spin it up onto that front straightaway. So now it's Josh LePatry in front of Anthony Montello instead, who is in the number 13 car, the Lazy Rocket, I'm sure, liveried vehicle. Got a bit of a gap, though, before these guys have some problems.
Yeah, well, they're racing pretty hard here. That's my main concern here, Tom, is when you're racing side by side, especially in such scary corners, there's a lot of opportunity to have some offs, as Brian Heitkotter is up to 4th place now in that kind of orange and blue Porsche Cayman. Darian Taggart runs 5th, but the 2 leaders nose to tail. I don't think Wyatt Gooden has a whole bunch of pressure right now. He's running away pretty easily.
No, and this track is pretty easy to defend at as well. Now, the draft is going to kick into effect down the last part of this back straightaway for Paul Darling, who runs in 2nd there in the black and yellow. But this race is really about survival to get into the feature. And every position in this race equals 2 on the grid for that feature race. So Wyatt Gooden will be on pole at this point. Paul Darling will be 3rd, Andrew Pilata 5th, and so on down. But this race for about 9th, 10th, call it maybe 8th even, will be really intense.
Yeah, so that's Val DiPietro in the yellow BMW right ahead of Will Robbins in the McLaren. Jumps that curb in turn 10. Back up under power on the front straightaway. You mentioned it, that battle in front of them. It's Chris Harp at the pointy end of it. If he's the cork in the bottle, the pressure will build behind him until it explodes. They're all running and drop a wheel off at corner exit.
And again, there's so much more runoff room now in real life, but this game has not been updated since that has been paved. So the consequences are super high, I should say, as Chris Harp now continuing to fend from the I would say probably faster in a straight line, Max Baumann in that McLaren. I think he's the top running McLaren. Shows the nose at the inside. Twin turbo V8 to flat 6 naturally aspirated Porsche.
Down the hill now, and both of them are a little bit wide, tucking to the apex tightly on the binders. And one car off in front of them, that's Jacob Bessemer. Now, he was involved in a crash with James Houghton. This time just loops it all on his own there, Tom.
It's going to allow Nathan Adler to get by, but I think Bessemer is going to drop just outside of the top 10, gets it going just in time to join this intense battle. Look at 10th through 20th all right together.
Alex Artea's going to have a great view of this. Three
Holy
wide in
cow.
front of him. This is all for 12th spot down the back straightaway towards turn 8. This is great stuff here. Look out, Robbins on the inside. That's not a lot of room to play with there. Keeps it tight to the curbing on the inside. DiPietro and the BMW on the outside. Now the inside as they rotate through, and Artea with the advantage now.
Bauman and LePetri are also trying to get through here. This is the battle for 10th through 15th, all on your screen right there. But the McLaren gets the run at the inside. Artea, it's got a little bit of pressure from Bauman. Bauman and the McLaren closes the spot.
Now Val DiPietro is going to try to roll some momentum here and get back to the inside of Bauman before turn 2. Not able to do it, but now the door opens and gets tucked tight. Cars crashing in front of them. Talas Sadiq and Chris Harp in turn 2. And that's a bad spot for Chris Harp to be stuck.
It's a really bad spot, and that's going to shake up the battle for 15th pretty significantly because a number of those cars have now dropped outside of it. Looks like maybe Peter Zhang is the first car in, and it was a little bit of contact after a mistake for Chris Harp on turn 1, then collects another car there, the number 51. Coming into turn 2.
Yeah, so both those cars are very well damaged. That moves the cut line. You're right, to Peter Zhang in the turn-in concepts car. Whoa, now it's Anthony Montello's off. He's going to drop out of the order, and that moves the cut line to Andrew Abbott in the number 25. And here's Alfred Rodriguez in the number 15 car. Now he's one car out, needs to pass 1 to get in.
And that's the high consequence of Moss Corner. There is absolutely no forgiveness if you run just a little bit wide. Not in that just that there's grass on the outside, but it's also off camber. It just shoots you out into the wall. So now Andrew Abbott in this number 25, the red and yellow Cayman will be on the bubble, but he's got pretty good pressure from Alfred Rodriguez in the BMW behind.
He started 3rd to last. He's up to 15th place. This is a great climb for Andrew Abbott. Now putting pressure on the back of Peter Zhang.
He didn't actually qualify at all. He just started at the back.
Well, that's
worked out for him.
Yeah, only way to go is up, I guess. See drivers kind of straddling that curb to help it rotate. Meanwhile, for 3rd, here's Heitkotter on the back of Pilata. This is a hot battle.
Remember, the Cayman is measurably faster than the other 2 cars here at Mosport, just based on flowing speed, based on momentum. But as far as racecraft is concerned, the other 2 cars have a straight line advantage. The BMW and the McLaren both are faster in a straight line. Watch as now Andrew Pilata is just able to drive away. Brian Heitkotter a little bit late into turn 5, but the BMW puts the power down and just motors away.
Back to the cut line here. Andrew Abbott has the position. Alfred Rodriguez needs the position to transfer automatically to the feature event. Rodriguez on down will be forced to battle it out in the last chance qualifier for 10 spots. Everybody else ahead of these guys is good to go. For now, I should say.
Yeah, for now, with 2.5 laps to go, anything could happen. But right at the front, Wyatt Gooden and Paul Darling have been kind of picture perfect. Wyatt Gooden dropping a little bit of tire there, coming onto the front straightaway with now only 2 laps to go. But I think these guys are probably just running in formation. Andrew Pilata a little bit of a break over Brian Heitkotter, and Darren Taggart killing it there in 5th place. That's a great run for him.
Nathan Adler, he's got the logo of the challenge on the hood of the car. There's another way to guarantee yourself some time. Got some SCCA logos on it, which is not a bad thing.
Nope, just in front, David Santel running the what, is this a boxer reference? Maybe like
perhaps.
A Subaru livery on a Porsche?
I mean, it's closer than most other manufacturers
Yeah,
would
exactly.
be,
No, David's a Subaru employee running there in 6th place and having a great run at it. He will, if he finishes in this position, he will start 12th in that feature race. Remember, every position in this race is worth 2 on the grid.
Josh LePetri, again, he's driven his way into transfer position. He's got Val DiPietro again ahead of him. They're going to drop down the multiple stories into Moss Corner. And look at how good that Cayman is on the brakes, closes right up. Gets right to him, and there's Peter Zhang in the turn-in concepts car and Andrew Abbott. Those are all your transfer drivers, the tail end of them at least. And just behind, it's that white, green, and red car that is just out, Alfred Rodriguez.
Wow, a great run actually for Josh LePetri up the back straightaway, right into the draft of that BMW, touch to the outside, and is going to try to maybe outbrake maneuver into turn 8. You can go side by side through here. What has the Cayman got?
Oh, this is going to be dicey. Can he hold the outside line? DiPietro defends nicely. LePetri tucks in tight. Here comes Peter Zhang. Thought he was going to take a look at it, then just climbs the curb. White flag is out for the race leaders. Final lap around Mosport in heat race number 1.
Looks like DiPietro maybe not have the raw speed. Maybe doesn't have the raw speed to keep up with the rest of these drivers, but he's at the front of the row, and that's all you need right now. Position, track position is king right now.
Highcutter has been knocking on the door of third place, but Pilata's just got enough straightaway speed to keep him at bay for now. Under the bridge and back to 15th place because it is a hornet's nest. Peter Zhang potentially holding up Abbott just enough to bring Alfred Rodriguez into this mix. They're side by side.
Maybe 3 wide, not quite, but they're going to go 3 wide into the very, very tricky turn 4, almost flat out. You just turn in right before the bridge and then lift and then flat back on it, down 10 stories into the braking zone for turn number 5. No position changes just now.
Yeah, this is Alfred Rodriguez in a spot to make a pass. He's right there to the back of Andrew Abbott. This is for the transfer spot. The red car has it. The white, green, and red one wants it. Here he goes, looks to the left, looks to the right, but he's got to be strategic here, Tom.
And whoever doesn't get it will start on pole in that last chance qualifier. So really the consequences are, I would say, maybe arguably low because you get to just race twice as much more if you don't get this position. But the BMW stretching its legs, closes the door just a bit into turn 8. Checkered flag is out.
Checkered flag is out. Wyatt Gooden wins. Paul Darling in second. Pilata, Highcutter, Taggart, the rest of your top 5. Rodriguez got to the bumper and gave the 25 a tap. He's so close, but he's not going to get it done. Andrew Abbott is your transfer driver.
And that means Alfred Rodriguez will be on pole for that last chance qualifier. James Houghton races his way back just barely up to what will become 3rd position on the grid for the last chance qualifier. This number 56 is going to be really fun to watch in that race. And then I have to imagine ultimately into the feature race.
That was a really solid battle. Of course, quick look at your race results here at Mosport. Again, only the top 15 automatically transfer. Everybody else will have to fight it out in the LCQ. So Rodriguez, Houghton, Montello, Buzas, Cuthbert, and more will have to finish top 10 in that LCQ in 2 races. But next up is our second heat, which is our outside row from our qualifiers.
And just remember, yeah, that was only half of our drivers. 60 drivers here to take part. Only 30 of them just took place. Now we get to see our even drivers, which include the names like Austin Cobb on pole, DJ Alessandrini, Kyle Herbst, Marc-Antoine Blaise, James Stacy, Carter Kundinger, and more. This format is so cool.
It is really cool, and look at this. There are no BMWs in the top 15. That's a bit of a surprise to me, Tom. I would have thought that BMW would have been a pretty strong choice to have here. Seems like, at least in this heat, there's not a high concentration of them.
I think the BMW is a little bit better at pointing and shooting, and this track is all about high-speed flow, where the Cayman, as long as you don't have to slow down much or drag race much, the Cayman definitely has the high-speed flow going for it. The mid-engine McLaren will do pretty well as well, which you see Carter Kundinger and Kyle Herbst there in the 3rd row. We'll start side by side as our top McLarens.
Looking down the order, are there some drivers that could surprise us? How about Jackson Robillard in this number 98? He was really solid in the Miatas, kind of got shuffled back in the heat races, but came out to play. So let's not count out that 98 car. Mitchell Marhefka is one of our GRIDLIFE homies. He's back there in 19th. And Yuki Takanashi was one of our big surprises in the Miatas. We had not seen this name in GRIDLIFE iRacers before, but he's going to start 26th, and he was very fast in practice, so I think the qualifying lap was not indicative of his performance.
No, I have to imagine he might have dirtied his qualifying laps. He was the 4th fastest driver in practice, but there you see him starting in 26th. A couple of other drivers, Eric Dallariva rejoining us. He will start in about 10th. Looks like 9th place for that driver. Kevin Zhu is here. Mitch Marhefka, who you mentioned. Reese Everard is back. A bunch of familiar faces now rejoining us as the season has winded down in real life. Winded? That's not a
wound
word.
Down.
There you
go. I had to laugh, Tom, because the season just finished 2 days ago, and I saw you on iRacing the other day. I think.
I did do that.
And I was just laughing because he's already trying to keep the skills sharp.
You know what it is? No, I won the practice race for this yesterday, and now I just get to say, you know what? I'll step away. I'll let everyone else have a chance.
There it is. Except your control arms aren't going to snap in iRacing, so you might have a way chance here than you do in real life.
Way too soon.
All right. Well,
eternally too soon.
Oh boy. All right. Well, if you guys have not seen the season finale of the GRIDLIFE Touring Cup season from Road America on Saturday and Sunday, the videos are right here on the GRIDLIFE YouTube channel. You should go check them out. Check out Race 3 specifically. That was a good one. I know it wasn't great for you, Tom.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
But there were some really good ones in there.
I like Race 1. That was the best one.
That was a good race, too. I think 2 and 4 were the ones that I could probably want to redo if I had the opportunity. But you'll have to go back and watch it yourself to find out what happened.
We should say hi to Ryan Christoph in the chat. Hi, butthole.
Oh.
He called us butthole, so I'm just saying it back.
just returning him back. All right. Just so we have the context for those that are watching on Twitch that didn't see that.
Right, yeah.
Oh, boy. All right. Let's kill the music. It's time to go racing for heat number 2. Again, this is our outside row qualifying. Top 15 transfer and head to the feature. The bottom 15 will fight it out in the LCQ. A whole bunch of Porsches up front. Austin Cobb, DJ Alessandrini, 2 drivers that were just at Road America 2 days ago, running in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup. They're back here in GRIDLIFE iRacers, keeping their skills sharp, and the green flag flies. We're racing in Heat 2 for the GRIDLIFE SimCity Challenge presented by Valvoline.
Alessandrini tried to make it work, but he just couldn't quite get it done with how early the green flag comes out here. But the McLaren's powered down. Look at, oh my goodness, Kyle Herbst up the inside, all the curb and more, and we got a spinner in the background.
Lucas Webster slams into the wall, rips the wing off the car, and that is a big one in turn number 2, or turn number 1 rather. Now through turn 2. Whoa, another car sliding off. A few cars sliding off.
And these cars are such a handful on cold tires. It absolutely does simulate what the Michelins on these cars would do in real life. They take 2 or 3 laps, and the number 5 drops all the way to the back bench bar Hefka, but a couple of the cars just an off, not to the wall. Unfortunately, only Lucas Webster collects himself into those tire barriers, but it's Austin Cobb, Alessandrini, Marc-Antoine Blaise, and James Stacy reclaims 4th position. 4 Caymans right at the front.
Nice and tidy through turn 5. That's always great to see. I spoke too soon. There's a 3-wide kibosh there. And now climbing up the back straightaway, we will go. Here comes DJ Alessandrini to driver's left. Battle for the race lead.
Still cold tires. This is a ballsy move for Alessandrini around the outside, but it becomes the inside for turn number 9. Look at this. He deep on the brakes. Austin Cobb pushes the issue, the 36 car, back to the front in that white and red Porsche Cayman. Now Apex V2R based in Canada. Austin Cobb's probably got a little bit of home turf here to defend.
I think so. Alessandrini sweeping left, sweeping right. Can't quite get by. As we move back to 15th to catch our transfer driver. It's about a 2-second gap back, so they're safe here, at least for the time being. There's a good battle in front of them. Kevin Zhu is involved. Adam Kobach is in this mix as well. How about just up the road, this 8th place battle? This is very tight.
Yeah, this is super tight. Jackson Robillard there sitting in 11th, just at the back of this one, the number 98 car driving away from us. He's raced his way from 15th to where he is now in 11th, so he's bought himself a couple of buffer spots up to that number 15th as he forces the outside around the number 31. Is that Ryan Carwile? Yes, it is. Deep on the brakes, side by side in the moss.
You can see how much you climb there into 5B. Whoa! Spin in front of him. The 41 is around, and everybody scatters to try to miss him. And that's going to drop the transfer spot to Benjamin Beacock in the number 14. And just behind him, how about Yuki Takanashi? Just keeps popping in there, Tom, up to 16th from 26th.
Remember, Takanashi was the ultimately the 6th fastest driver in practice, but way up there on raw time. He is super quick and shows the nose right up the inside to earn himself the 15th position. Now, if he finishes in this spot, he will start 30th in the feature race, so he's going to have a lot more work to do, but the 999 is going to race his way forward, I think, for the remainder of this heat.
Far from over. Meanwhile, for 4th place, here's James Stacy, Kyle Herbst trading spots here. Porsche versus McLaren. Big curb hop there for Herbst.
Herbst is starting to get racing. The McLaren kind of comes alive a little bit later as the front tires come in. The rear tires come in. He gets power down, but also gets a little bit more turning radius on that car. And he now races his way past James Stacy up into the top 4. And I think the McLaren will really only start to get stronger in such a short race.
One car off in turn 2. I think it was Chris Levitz. He's going to drop out of the mix. That will move the cut line to Alberto Rivera and Thomas Langille, who runs in 16th right now.
Takanashi just in front was showing the nose up to turn 4. Couldn't quite get it done on the BMW just in front, who's Adam Kobach. This driver is continuing his charge. Every position gained in this is 2 positions on the grid for the next feature, so everything counts right now.
Still a long way to go in this one. Meanwhile, back up front, Austin Cobb stays driver's right. This is what you mean by easy to defend. You just kind of pick that right lane, Tom, and it is a real tall task to drive around the outside.
Yeah, realistically, this track is kind of a glorified oval. You kind of turn right a whole bunch and left a couple of times, but because of that, you just defend the inside. You defend the low side of those right-hand corners, and you're pretty much good to go, especially in spec racing, which is essentially what's happening here between these 2 Porsches. Now, if you throw a BMW or a McLaren in the mix, that gets a little bit interesting, which is what's happening here for about 5th. But realistically, at the front, spec racing between the Caymans, I don't see Cobb and Alessandrini changing positions without a mistake between one of them.
Here is Yuki Takanashi up the inside for 13th. He's got it, so move him one more spot forward. Meanwhile, for 15th place, this is your transfer battle. Rivera in the white and green Porsche, and Languille in the kind of yellow and pink BMW M4. He's one spot shy of automatic transfer.
Those wheels are a strong choice, but it's doing
all
right.
From you, that's a strong
exactly. But I think if he can get a good run out of Moss Corner, the BMW has a little bit more straight line speed. Maybe get a run up the inside or even the outside down into turn number 8. So he just kind of gets a push on the way into turn 4, though. It's going to drop off the back of the Cayman. Ooh, lunges on the brakes, though. This could be a good run.
Yeah, a bit of a bobble there for him on the braking. The Porsche is a little wide. He gets a much squarer exit. And meanwhile, for the lead, here's Alessandrini on the outside of Cobb. This is as far along as he's been. Can he hang on to it here?
He's just got to maintain the position for turn number 9, and he has certainly done that. Cobb kind of makes it easy for him, tucks it behind. The 28 car goes to the lead. Alessandrini was last week's winner. Maybe he could take it 2 for 2. If he wins this race, he will start 2nd rather than 4th. So this is a pretty high stakes battle, I would say, at the lead.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't easy for him. It's been easy in the past for him here in GRIDLIFE iRacers. It was not last week. The intensity level has risen significantly at the front, and it remains that way in this second round of the GRIDLIFE SimCity Challenge presented by Valvoline. And Cobb is back with a run, but I think he's going to think better of it for now. They've got a 1.5-second lead on Marc-Antoine Blaise in 3rd. As we jump back a little bit to find battle for 18th spot. This is Chris Levitz. We saw him turned around sideways earlier, battling Shane Vicari.
Give you an idea of just how competitive this field has gotten. The top 25 were in the same second in practice for this entire field amongst all the makes and models available. This is super intense, but a couple of McLarens battling super door-to-door. Whoa, really pinched to the inside was the number 7 by the 29 of Shane Vicari.
Leaning on each other like we saw DJ Alessandrini and Andy Smedegaard in GLTC this weekend. Yeah. Moving their mirrors, touching mirror tips, running up the hill from 5 to 6. But Levitz drops to 18th. Now Vicari moves up 1 spot as we go back to the top spot. Cobb is just hounding Alessandrini, but I do think DJ's got a little bit more pace at the moment. And for 15th place, transfer spot.
That's Jack Tranter up the inside in the number 39, racing his way forward from behind just a bit in the blue Porsche Cayman. Makes his way past the number 21, but Alberto Rivera is coming back through. Maybe shows the nose, not quite enough. The Planters car stays in front. Mr. Peanut with the point.
Oh, trouble for the 3rd place car. Blaise spins in turn 1 right into traffic. Can he get it looped around? Oh, that's going to be a real big challenge. He might just, oh man. This is going to be tough.
Oh, and these race cars just have no turning radius whatsoever. Backs it up into the concrete. It's going to damage the rear just a bit. That's the transfer spot driving just by. So Marc-Antoine Blaise has now officially dropped outside, backs into the concrete once more. This is just painful to watch. We'll look away while he gets himself sorted. But that's actually going to promote Kyle Herbst up into the, we'll look away. Painfully.
Look away.
Wins. No, sorry, dude. But Kyle Herbst is going to get promoted up into 3rd. And I was going to point out that he's been a bit of a, as you like to say, cork in the bottle for 3rd there.
Yeah, a little bit. There's a bit of a stack up forming with James Stacy, Carter Kundinger, and Eric Dalla Riva right behind him. Also wanted to shout out Murphy Nichols, who I believe is the one that made that Tom O'Gorman livery that Darian Taggart was running earlier. So hi there, Murphy.
Hey, Murphy.
Hope
Thanks
you're doing
for that.
Well. Got some SCCA stuff coming up on some TV that we'll probably see Murphy on in coming weeks. But look at it, James Stacy, and Kundinger defending.
Kundinger just had enough power to kind of make it a bit of a nuisance for James Stacy up into that turn number 8. But again, these positions, while they do mean a lot for the grid of the feature race, it's really important to not make a mistake, as we saw Eric Dalla Riva do. Not Dalla Riva, I'm sorry, that was Marc-Antoine Blaise do in the previous lap. So, I mean, you'd rather finish 7th than 16th in this race than fight for 6th.
15th place has a 5-second advantage over 16th, so the transfer spot is quiet for now. For the lead, it is very loud. Austin Cobb and Alessandrini in brightly colored Porsches going at it, but they're 3 seconds clear of Kyle Herbst.
It's pretty impressive. They've continued to lap faster than the rest of the field while battling this intensely.
Board with Austin Cobb. Ooh, big push there, and there's some lap traffic ahead. Could that potentially throw a curveball at these leaders? Oh, Yuki Takanashi slipped down to 15th. Something has happened. He's got some nose damage, I think. A lot of nose damage. He's been involved in something pretty significant here.
Yeah, there's a bit of a smoosh on the front. It's pretty flattened up. Looks like he was already recovering from it at this point back in turn 2. He's
Still has a 4-second gap, but it is dwindling here as Jack Tranter runs 13th, Rivera 14th, Yuki Takanashi 15th, and Chris Levitz trying to run down Yuki. It's going to have a lap and a half left to do it. Here's Langille and Tranter. This is for 12th, door to door. And Tranter takes the spot away, moves solidly into 12th spot. As we go back up to the front, white flag, final lap for the race leaders, Alessandrini and Cobb. And Takanashi's got to hang on with a very damaged race car. That gap has come down a full second this lap. As long as he keeps the car on the road, it should be a 15th place for him and an automatic transfer. But I don't think that's a given. Here's Carter Kundinger in the 0-2, following James Stacy down the hill in turn 2. We've got the drone in the trees. That's definitely not Matt Johnston flying it this week. And a 4-car battle for third. This is very tight and dicey.
So tight, but they hit this point on the back straightaway where the power of the twin-turbo V8 McLaren just comes alive. Kyle Herbst and Carter Kundinger both with more straight line advantage here than James Stacy and Eric Dallariva. It looks like, just a quick note, that Kevin Zhu and another driver got together, and that's what ended up having Yuki Takanashi have a bit of an issue.
Here comes Austin Cobb. 2 more corners to get it done here at Mosport in heat race number 2. I don't think he's going to take the lunge. That's a really inviting opportunity, but you don't want to do it. You'll end up with a crash. Alessandrini and Cobb win heat race number 2. Then it's Herbst, Stacy, Kundinger, Dallariva. Robillard will come home in 7th. That was a great climb for him. 15th to 7th.
Yeah, no kidding.
And the transfer spot should go to Yuki Takanashi, provided he can get through 2 more corners unharmed. He will do it. Yuki Takanashi transfers. Chris Levitz, Shane Vicario, they'll have to battle it out in the LCQ. So heat race number 2 is complete, and here is a look. Well, or there we go. There's a look at your race results. Top 15 move on.
So that means on pole for the last chance qualifier will be Alfred Rodriguez from heat number 1, and then heat number 2 is going to be Chris Levitz. In one of those McLarens. This last chance qualifier is always one of the races that makes us lean forward week after week. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch these last 30 drivers try to race the top 10 get into the feature.
So one more heat race before our 20-minute feature. Again, you're watching the GRIDLIFE Sim City Challenge, round number 2. What you got, Tom?
Oh no, the YouTube chat just pointed out we forgot our Jabay flagger.
Oh.
We got a whole week now. He was busy last week. It's understandable. Kyle was busy last week planning for Road America, but
yeah.
Next week maybe.
Where are we at next week? We're at Red Bull Ring. I bet Jabay's always wanted to go to Red Bull Ring.
I bet. He seems like he would love Austria.
Definitely. I could definitely see Adam Jabay going to Austria.
Maybe the puppet Jabay should be the flagger.
That's a better idea. I can green screen that and get really creative with that. So I guess Chris is going to be really upset that I'm going to spend time at work doing that, but I think it's worth. Chat, is that worth me doing green screening the puppet Jabay?
Chris spent all weekend just playing with puppet Jabay.
That's a good point.
So if you spend a day green screening puppet Jabay,
I think that's worth doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. If you have not seen Puppet Jabay, you need to go to the GRIDLIFE Instagram and Facebook. It was very funny, to say the least. All right. Flagger liveries. Yes, Tony, that would be amazing.
What does that mean?
To be able to paint the flagger to look like Jabay.
There he goes. Yeah, it used to be a puppet.
Just got to make him a little furry or something.
Maybe not that, but yeah.
All right, fields rolling off. This is the last chance qualifier. What does that mean? 10 drivers will advance to the feature. Everybody else will not get to race in the feature for points, Tom.
No, and this is pretty cool because we have a BMW M4 on the pole, Alfred Rodriguez in the Castro livery, and then on the inside, the Pfaff livery for Chris Levitz. It's a real-world McLaren from the Michelin Pilot Challenge. I think that team is actually based out of Canada. And then we have a couple of Caymans finally kind of working their way in. James Houghton, I think, has got to be the pick, right? The 56 car. Starting on that outside second row, the Valvoline livery car. Remember, he had that accident in heat number 1 and raced his way back to almost into the feature race, but this car's going to be really, really quick.
Yeah, this is home turf for Houghton, so that's probably my pick.
But just behind, Marc-Antoine Blaise in the Red Bull Cayman is going to be another driver to watch. Made that mistake. Maybe he can keep it under him this time, and those two drivers are going to be contenders.
Is there anybody outside the top 15 that we should keep our eye on? How about Talah Sadiq, the number 51? We've seen him race at a pretty high level before. He got taken out of the cut line in his heat, so he'll be driving forward. Got a tall task out of him, 9 spots that he's going to have to gain in about 10 minutes. All right, onto the back straightaway now. James Houghton again rocking the Valvoline livery on home turf, and you mentioned the FAF being the Canadian team, and the only reason I can always remember that is because they run the FAF Porsche in IMSA, and that thing's got like plaid livery.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And if I know anything about Canada, they wear lots of plaid, which isn't, it's a choice.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if it's plaid, gingham, or tartan. I don't know the difference between the three.
I didn't even know those other words you just said.
Well, I'm Irish, so I have to know it, but I don't.
Oh man, I can only imagine you with a redhead. As a redhead, full Irish man with a Guinness or something.
That'd be so bad. You're profiling me as Scottish right now. Is what
okay,
you're doing.
whatever. Same difference. Oh, that's gonna get me in trouble. All right, rolling through turn number 10. The top 10 transfer in the last chance qualifier. This is round 2 of the GridLife Sim City Challenge presented by Valvoline. The LCQ, we're green.
Well, the field pretty stacked up this time. Houghton gets a run through into second position right away over the McLaren, and now a couple of other drivers diving to the inside of turn number 1. Whoa, the leader is off.
Alfred Rodriguez goes way off course in turn number 1. Can he get it back on course going straight? He can. He's going to get swallowed up here by a handful of more cars. He went from leading, they're all off in turn 2.
And turn 2 is completely blind on the way, and it's super easy to just not turn enough. As dumb as that sounds, it's really easy to do, and a couple of drivers do that on the way into turn number 2 for the first time, but Local Boy does good. James Houghton to the lead. Vakari, Levitz are going to be the top 3. McLaren side by side into turn 4.
This is going to get dicey. Those two are side by side in their heat race too. They can't get rid of each other. And whoever's driving that Ryan Turk livery, they're drifting a lot more than they probably want to be, as the second place car, Vakari, goes off in 5.
It's going to promote Luke Tucciarone up into 3rd. That one's on you.
Whoa, big crash behind him. And they're all stacked up. This is messy here for sure as they all get singled out and trying to claw their way back forward. Second place now, Levitz and Tucciarone side by side.
Power advantage to the McLaren up the inside of turn number 8, but the warm tires, not the warm tires, but the cold tires, I should say, on the Porsche are going to behave a little bit better. Tucciarone just hounding the back end as another car into the tire barrier.
That's Cuthbert, who's found his way into the tires. He was inside the top 10. He will drop outside of it now. And Chris Harp is the transfer driver. Andres Garcia, is behind in 11th.
That's a good reminder. Only the top 10 from this race race their way into the feature race. They will be positions number 31 through 40 in our top 40 feature. So this position, while it may seem not like the most ideal spot to be, 10th in the last chance qualifier, is a very high stakes spot for Chris Harp, who I think ended up with an incident in his heat race. Shows the nose, really high stakes move there up the inside for 9th now.
That was Marc-Antoine Blaise, who just made it work. 2 different Red Bull cars on 2 different chassis, but Blaise threw on Bouzas in the number 46, so he will drop down. Here's Benson Tai defending from Mitch Marhefka in the number 5. That's that white BMW. And this time I think we've all made it through 5. Oh, the 51 of Sadiq is going to loop it.
You jinxed them.
They were in 5C. It's a technicality.
Pulls back on, but this battle for second is not going anywhere. Luke Tucciarone up the outside, now ducks to the inside. This is where you want to be if you're going to pick up the spot. Late on the brakes, keeps the nose there, but the number 7 of Chris Levitz, not having any of it, shuts the door.
Oh, that was almost a bumper touch there heading into 9. Oh, he set him up nicely. A big understeer moment for Levitz, running wide out of 10. And way off into the grass.
I know from yesterday, I drove this McLaren in the practice race, which again I won. No, I'm just kidding. But the McLaren is very tough to manage in those transitions of the last 3 corners. It just is a little bit lazier than I think the Cayman is. So you saw the nose of the second place car now, Luke Tucciarone in the number 43, just tuck in a little bit easier for turn number 10 and picks up the spot.
This is a battle for the transfer spot. This yellow and black Porsche is out. Chris Harp just ahead of him is in. Move that. Mitch Marhefka is dropping down the order, so that means that Anthony Montello behind is the one who is out. And Montello's got a great run. Here he comes to the inside of Garcia. To the inside of 5. Thought about it. He's being patient here, Tom. That's a pretty good decision, but he's got Matthew Morhart behind in a McLaren ready to pounce if he's too slow.
Yeah, it's smart to be this patient with 6 laps to go, but with 2 laps to go, or 1 lap even, I don't know that he would be quite so patient, but he gets the run. Whoa. Up the outside. Tight. This is going to become the long way around as the entire back straightaway bends to the right.
Side by side now up the hill. Montello in the white-black car. The yellow is Garcia. That is the transfer spot, and there's that McLaren and Morhart into the mix now.
Trying up the inside, but Montello looks like the power move around the outside at that Japanese GT Championship reference livery. The Mugen car that came into the transfer spot.
Morhart just watched Garcia hit the blunt end of a curb entering turn 8, slammed off the end of it, bounced the car skyward, but managed to land it and get the car rotated, so Morhart stays 12th for now.
Houghton has run away with his Tucheron. Marc-Antoine Blaise has raced his way to 3rd, but this transfer spot battle is always the most exciting to watch. They're racing for 40th on the grid in the feature race, but they're racing tooth and nail at this point. Anthony Montello is the car that has it, the Romero. 13, but he's going to sweep past a couple of drivers.
Whoa, that's tight. Here comes the McLaren and Morhart up the middle, and the driver falling out of that, I believe was, I thought it was Roger Romero, but he managed to gather it back up. That's the yellow car. So Montello remains the cut line driver. And now Morhart in the McLaren is the one that needs to get by. Big stack up and slide. Here comes Morhart.
Yeah, that was Chris Harp that was having an awkward moment just in front, but I think everybody kind of ended up with an equal exit of turn number 5C. McLaren might have a little bit more legs. Everybody trying to tuck into the draft.
Here he comes now in the slipstream. Montello with the big, tall Porsche punching a hole in the air. That slippery McLaren is close. Does Montello leave the door open into turn 8? He does, as he's trying to go around the outside of Chris Harp. And he will, but they're still door to door. Oh, they're going to touch. They spin. And they're going to crash.
Oh, they both keep it off the wall somehow. I think they're going to lose too many positions at this point in the race to actually get back up into the top 10, but that makes Andres Garcia into the 10th position with Lucas Webster, who had that mistake from the pole position, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? It's only been 5 minutes, but I forget. This car was on pole, right?
I think so. Let's check.
Or 3rd.
Let's find out. He started. Well, no, I don't think that's accurate.
Oh, no, that was in his heat race. He's raced his way all the way up almost into the feature from a mistake in his heat race.
Wow,
and he's going to get it.
Oh, man. And who was that just went off course? Was that a lap car?
That was the 23 car.
I think it was a lap car.
No,
it was
23 of Ryan Dunham.
Yeah, he's already a lap down, so that was not for position. So Webster is still on the outside looking in. With some dramas in the back of the transfer positions here, as up front it's James Houghton. He is driven away in this home track advantage here, Tom. This is going to be dangerous. He's going to be starting really deep in the feature field, but he's going to be clawing his way forward, and you better watch out if you're mid-pack.
Yeah, the winner of this race starts 31st for the feature, which will be on deck in about 6 or 7 minutes time. You don't want to leave now. Luke Tucheron will be 2nd, Marc-Antoine Blaise 3rd, but this battle for 5th, Alfred Rodriguez and
one back. It's Bouzas and Benson tie. I just love the panic in your voice there.
I got an Allison Greedy moment. Let's get a minus Bouzas leading the way over Benson tie here.
That was an amazing. After how much you panicked about that, you said that about as smoothly as anyone could say that. So congratulations. I was going to try it, and I sat here thinking about it for 10 seconds. So one step ahead of me.
Can we call him Jed?
Jed.
Sorry, Jed.
Jed.
That's so rude.
I mean, but like, come on. Help me out here, man. Oh, Rodriguez, he's off in 2.
This is the pole sitter from this race. Rodriguez in that Castrol BMW was the pole sitter, drops just now to the transfer spot for 10.
Oh, they're going to crash.
More contact.
And there goes Garcia out into no man's land, and that's big time damage. He's got suspension failure, and that will promote Lucas Webster into position. Well, he is a lonely 10th right now. Not a lot of drivers around him. 2 seconds back. Oh, Allen's going to run wide. Here comes Suddy. They're going to door slam into 5C.
Number 29 is going to get a good run. Shane Vicari, who I think is a driver that had an incident earlier in this race, started, yes, 4th, and is now racing his way dangerously close to that transfer spot. This purple McLaren is on a charge.
Is that purple? Is it blue? I think that's blue.
I don't know.
Does that look that purple to you?
I mean, a little blurple, I would say.
Okay, all right. This is going to turn into one of those dress moments as
Power
he goes
move.
by the 51.
Up the inside for turn number 8. That's going to be for 11th, and now he's got quite a ways to go, but Lucas Webster is the bubble boy. Here he is in that neon yellow, and there's the gap back to 11th.
The bubble boy. I like that one.
That's a movie, right?
Maybe. I don't know what that movie's about there, Tom. But down into turn 2. Webster again, that's that yellow McLaren, and that's a long way back to Shane Vicari, who's now got one more position to make it into the event tonight. Remember, the drivers that finish 11th or worse in this race will not race tonight. 4 points. This is the cut line. 10th spot. Here's 5th with Buzas and Benson tie.
But that's what I love about this is you're guaranteed 2 races, whether or not it's your last chance qualifier or the feature. All of these drivers have raced twice now. A couple of the lucky few, the top 10 here, will get to race the 3rd time. I mean, that's pretty rad, right?
It's a lot of racing. Great battles happening all around the racetrack. Roger Romero, that's slow. He's got contact in 5B, and here comes Shane Vicari. That gap that he had to slash is just now cut in half. But now up the back straightaway, Vicari's got to run down this yellow BMW. It might have a little bit of damage from that contact in 5B.
Almost 1 lap to go. I think the white flag is out for James Houghton in the lead. Tucheron, Marc-Antoine Blaise as our, is that me? What are those blue glasses?
They got the Tomo glasses
Oh, I
on.
wave a flag terribly. But this is the battle for 11th and 10th. The BMW has it, the McLaren wants it, and the McLaren is on a charge. He's closed the gap a couple more car lengths.
Yeah, Tala Sadiq is trying viciously to get back in the mix as well. Vicari is closing quickly. The yellow and black BMW is the car he needs to pass if he wants to race for points tonight.
You should see how blind turn 2 is. You turn in, it's almost flat out. In cars slightly slower than GT4, a little bit of braking for GT4, but then a 10-story drop before you rise slightly up into this turn 3. The BMW runs a bit wide, crests right at the apex, and then you drop almost 10 more stories coming up here into turn 4.
Right on board the gyro cam here with Vicari. He is closing in on Romero. Down the hill now through turn 4. Oh, he throttled back up just to get a little closer. The BMW slips. He's there. Here, Tommy's going to have one more straightaway to run him down. He slips again. Romero is under fire from Vicari. This is the transfer spot.
Thought I saw an incident just ahead, but I think it was maybe some brake lockup. Some smoke was there on turn in for Moss Corner, but look at the McLaren stretching its legs with a draft as well. This twin-turbo V8 is breathing really well up the back straight. Shows up the inside into the grass.
Here he comes. Pass in the grass. Vicari to the transfer spot. He moves into 10th in the final 3 corners. Oh, there's going to be a touch. Romero needs it back in 2 more corners.
Shane Vicari there in the number 29 gets the transfer spot. That was a hard race.
Oh, no!
They're both going to go around, and the Porsche goes through.
Tala Sadiq is going to transfer into the feature race as they clash behind him.
Unbelievable, and that's for 40th on the grid.
Well, Tala Sadiq is your last qualifier. The top 10 are in. Man, that was a wild one.
The admins were watching closely. It looks like Roger Romero got immediately disqualified for that.
Questionable.
Is it a dive bomb? I don't know if it's a dive bomb if you just drive into the guy, but
it's just a bomb.
for the hate crime into the last corner. Unfortunately, I don't know that there's much they can do about it. Tala Sadiq will start 40th into the feature race, and then we shift back to this race is twice as long as anything we've seen tonight. Now a little bit more strategy comes into play.
Well, strategy. So this race, as you mentioned, 20 minutes now instead of the 10 we've been doing for our heat races. And once we grid everybody up, I think there's going to be a really interesting moment on the initial couple laps. I think that the 2 or 3 top drivers, Tom, are going to be able to drive away. So how much of this is going to be working together if you're 5th through 10th, or do you have to kind of get up there right out of the gate and be in that battle?
I don't know that I agree that the top group will drive away because they're all so even. I think there will be something that separates them, but we can't guarantee what it is. And it could be in 2nd, it could be in 5th, it could be in 8th. But we have a number of these drivers that are right at the front, all running at essentially the same pace, and they're going to have to settle in for just a little bit before they finally get to that point a couple of laps towards the end of the race where they hit critical mass, I guess I would say. But we know that the McLarens are really fast, like lap 2, 3, 4. The Porsches tend to come alive a little bit later, so I think we'll see a couple of essentially grenades on the battles wherever the McLarens sit in the field.
So let's remind you what we're here again doing for the GridLife SimCity Challenge. This is a 4-round championship, 3 rounds where the GridLife iRacers will score points. We'll take the top 16 iRacers and pit them against our top 8 iRacers at SEMA for GridLife's Game Night. Then the 24 drivers will compete head-to-head with the 16 GridLife iRacers joining from their home and the 8 qualifiers at SEMA joining from the Luxor Hotel. We're all going to have that big broadcasted finale presented by Valvoline on November 4th. So this is round 2 of 3 in the leading up portion of that event. So again, 16 drivers are going to carry on. Again, the top 19 will score points. We're using the GridLife Touring Cup points format, Tom.
So, Kyle, I will say the bowler hat last week was a good touch. This week, I like the suspenders. It's a good look.
What are you talking about? I'm so confused.
This music.
Okay, all right, there we go.
I mean, everyone in the chat knows what I'm going on about.
You were talking about some kind of differences between, what'd you call it?
I cannot wait to see your wingtips for next week. I know you showed me them. They're going to look really good.
I'm not sure if I'm a wingtip kind of guy. I'm an engineer, Tom. The wingtips here, I know, are on the ends of airplane wings, and they cut drag. I'm lame.
You can get into drag whatever you want.
I mean, look, everyone's got their own flavors. You know, I'm not going to, as you say, I'm not going to yuck your yum, you know.
Amen.
Which I told Sean that in the office, and he wrote it on the wall. He liked that so much.
See, I'm telling you.
Yucking,
it's important.
Yucking a dude's yum, you know.
Or anyone's.
Or anyone's yum. Yucking everyone's yum.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to stop this.
We're going to, yeah, moving on. So at the front, Wyatt Gooden in the number 49, that is the white and baby blue. On the outside, Allison Drini in the orange, white, and teal. Then Darling and Cobb. Darling in the yellow and black, Cobb in the white and red. So it's a quattro of Caymans, I guess I would say. Is that what you call it? Like a flock of Caymans? A quattro?
A flock of Caymans. I like that a lot.
Quattro of Caymans. Then we got our first non-lemmings. Sorry, no offense. Pilata and Herbst in the BMW and the McLaren. Getting creative. And these guys are going to be the ones that I think make things a little bit interesting because these cars are going to make speed differently from the top 4, and that's what's going to make them race a little bit differently than the top 4, where the top 4 will, in the Caymans, kind of agree with how they race with each other here in the first couple laps. The 5th and 6th place cars will not be agreeing quite so quickly.
Co-opetition as we head up the back straightaway on our pace lap for the GridLife SimCity Challenge, presented by Valvoline, round number 2 from Mosport. Thanks for joining us. If you're joining us for the first time for a sim racing broadcast, we have a handful of these coming this winter. We kind of race iRacing in the off-season to keep everyone's skills sharp and the fun level high. So make sure you subscribe to the GridLife YouTube channel and make sure that you go back and re-watch the GridLife Touring Cup finale and the Track Battle Finals from Road America. They're the most recent videos in the playlist. Go check them out. Get yourself caught up on what happened last weekend for GridLife's season finale round at the National Park of Speed. All right, doubled up and 20 rows deep. We roll through turns 9 and 10, and it's time to go racing here, Tom, from Mosport. Green flag flies, and we're racing the GridLife SimCity Challenge presented by Valvoline, round number 2 from Mosport.
Early green flag once again. Wyatt Gooden knows it, and he just completely closes the door on Allison Drini coming to that green flag. You see him single file now and basically through the top 10. Taggart is the first car to close the door, and then they're double filing to turn number 2. Oh, and Taggart gets turned.
Oh, can he hang on to it? No, he cannot. It's going to be a pileup into. Everybody scatters. Oh, that's very dicey. More cars. Will Robbins is going to get powered slammed.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man, lots of damage for the drivers involved in that one. James Houghton, did he get through? I hope so.
He sure did.
And there was too much chaos to focus the camera off. The runoff is so big around here.
So the winner from the last chance qualifier is James Houghton in the Valvoline liveried Cayman. He sits 24th, already up 6 positions due to attrition more than anything else, but they're still double file a couple of cars up into Moss Corner. Houghton deep in, but keeping it clean.
One filtering through now, turn number 5 on lap number 1. Now up the back straightaway, the race leader is going to be Wyatt Gooden. There he is in your shot. Here comes Alessandrini battling for the race lead.
You can make the move early, it's worth doing, but these cars still on cold tires, brake lights, trail braking all the way through the decreasing radius. Turn number 8, he's going to have to slot back in for turn 9. Gooden shuts the door. Whoa! I think Alessandrini might have given him a little bit of a push. I heard a clunk.
That was very dicey and tight into turn number 10. Paul Darling is in third, Cobb and Hertz fourth and fifth. Then Pilata, Heitkotter, Kundinger, Stacy, and Santel, the rest of the top 10, as we complete our first lap of approximately 14 in this race.
Again, a 20-minute race instead of 10. This thing is going to go on for much longer than the last one, but Austin Cobb looking super racy, shows the nose up the bottom half of turn number 2 on Paul Darling. Darling has to run wide, but now has the inside for turn number 3, and it looks like Darling's actually going to brake pretty early and let Cobb try to run the outside.
Down towards turn number 5 once more. Here's Gooden and Alessandrini, nose to tail, jumping the curb, and Cobb and Darling still door to door entering the 5th corner.
See the field pretty spread out at this point through Moss Corner, and that's kind of to be expected after an incident like that, but the bottom half right here through 30th and down to 40th really stacked up still. Look at this pack charging their way towards us. I think that's Yuki Takanashi has raced his way to the front of it.
Yeah, Yuki Takanashi trying to find where he is on the timing and scoring screen. He's up to 22nd. Now remember, he started this race in 30th, so +8 for him in the early going. How about this battle? Marc-Antoine Blaise. Oh, ooh, that's very tight into turn 8. Andrew Abbott is back here as well as Matthew Morhart. And up front again, Wyatt Gooden. This is the wild card. Alessandrini's been used to driving away from everybody, but now he's got some real fighters up towards the front. How about Brian Heitkotter in 7th?
Whoa, big charge out around the outside of Andrew Pilata, who's in this BMW. The Spaceballs livery, I love that. The number 52. Brakes for nobody, but he's got a lot of pressure from Brian Heitkotter in that black, orange, and blue Porsche Cayman.
Well, we saw how much speed Pilata rolled in the downhill in turn 4, but then Heitkotter gained all of it back in the braking zone. Loses some on throttle on exit, though. And Carter Kundinger's in this mix. New driver. We haven't really seen a ton of him in GRIDLIFE iRacers before. We've seen him around the circles, but how about this for the lead? Here comes Alessandrini popping out a line on Gooden.
And we're going to just see this lap after lap because, again, Mosport is a relatively easy track to defend at when you're spec racing. These Caymans are completely identical, and again, it's just the short distance through the outside of turn 8. Alessandrini has nowhere to go. Look at this flat slide, though. He just chucks it in there, trail breaks it, and then the back end comes around, straightens up the wheel. Holy cow.
That was a big moment for sure. He gathers it back up, tucks back in line for 2nd place. Meanwhile, deeper in the field, here's Peter Zhang and James Houghton, 2 of our GRIDLIFE time attack competitors, nose to tail for 19th place. Luke Tucciarone is there as well. This is all for a top 20 spot. BMW, Porsches, and I think there's a McLaren just up the road.
So just cresting the top of turn number 2. As soon as that front axle hits, you can completely go flat out with a 34. Zhang under attack heavily from Houghton around the outside of turn 3, using maybe some track knowledge that he knows from real life to take advantage of Zhang in the BMW, who's floundering just a little bit, just a bit in the turning concept. BMW has to slap back in line.
Oh, that slap back in line is the right word. Like a coin into a vending machine. That was really tight, big, blunt end of the curb strike for Luke Tucciarone. And a big stack up there, a touch to the back of Peter Zhang as they exit 5B. And just like the strike of the clock at noon every day, here comes Alessandrini back to the outside of Gooden.
The only thing I have to be careful about is that in the background, Austin Cobb and Paul Darling are still lurking. They're being very patient, very quiet, but if Alessandrini continues to run that outside line, all of a sudden he could accidentally open up the inside for turn number 8. I don't think he's naive enough to let that happen, but it's very possible considering the number of laps we have to run, the number of opportunities those drivers will have, as now Yuki Takanashi, oh no, had such a great run going, has completely binned that number 999.
Yeah, that car is pretty well destroyed. Oh, this is a big one, man.
Concrete on the right and then tires on the left. That is heartbreaking. Oof. I think that was Tucciarone that he maybe got into.
Yeah, let's try to get a look. 43 car is the one that was involved.
Yeah, it was Tucciarone. It looks like he actually grabbed grass and ended up crashing into Tucciarone first, so he actually promoted that entire incident.
Watch this again.
See, grass first.
Yep, catches the grass, then nails the 43. Oh, that's a big impact there, and look out, caught.
Marc-Antoine Blaise gets involved as well.
Yeah, Marc-Antoine Blaise just snuck through there, but did get some side damage from all that.
If I watched Rick and Morty, I would make a reference, but I don't.
So James Houghton started 31st up to 19th and chasing down some drivers ahead of him. I want to know how high he can climb.
I mean, he lives in Canada, so pretty high, right? Cuz North? Cuz North?
Is North high? Is that how that works?
I don't know. Ooh, grabs a lot of inside curb, though. That is a pretty high-risk maneuver. He's now on the back of Josh Lepetri. The look on your face.
I was just, I mean, is Canada like a weirdly high elevation? Are they all mountain people up there? Like, I don't know. Like, I've only been there once.
I mean, North is up.
Up to who? Okay. It's going off the rails again. 1, 2, 3, 4, all pretty tightly wound together. And DJ's a pretty strategic driver, so I imagine that he's going to try to get this lead, but I don't think he's going to try to do anything overly risky. I think he's going to plan this out as Gooden is really jumping on the curbs here.
Yeah, he is, and these Caymans have gotten much more compliant with updates in the game, and I think the other thing is Alessandrini, with using that outside momentum up into turn 8, is actually buying himself a bit of a buffer back to Austin Cobb, because if he were to stay in line and maybe have to either lift or, I mean, God forbid, bump draft into back of Gooden, he'd be losing a lot of momentum. But in drafting up the back straightaway and then running that high line up into turn number 8, he's actually able to run a very similar lap time there. He may not even be intending to pass, but he can keep his momentum going, then tuck back in line without having to really back off of the pace, which is not going to allow him to drop into the clutches of Austin Cobb.
Well, and the other thing that he's doing right here is he's forcing Gooden to run that defensive line. That puts you off because you're going to run the inside, you're going to understeer to the outside, and then do the same thing in the left-hander at turn 9. So you're wearing out your tires doing that, you're heating up your tires doing that, and it just gets you off your rhythm and opens up the door for DJ to slide down the inside late in the race when the desperation level starts to climb, as James Stacy and Kundinger are side by side for 8th.
Oh, Kundinger has actually slipped a position. I think it is. No, it was Stacy that was going to pick up a spot, but actually slots back in line. I was going to say Kundinger, I think, was up one more position, but he's not. These guys have all kind of stagnated here in the top 10. Santel just outside.
Here's Marc-Antoine Blaise back in 20th. Andrew Abbott and Matthew Morhart, 2 Porsches and a McLaren, fighting for 20th spot. Into turn 3 now. Ooh, the Porsche's offline significantly. Morhart sees the door open. Kind of ran out of room to stick it. And I love the GLTC logo on the back of Abbott's car. Those cars have actually become increasingly common lately in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup. Micaiah Hackbarth entering his first GLTC event this weekend. Scored points at every single race, which was really impressive, especially running a tire that we were all sort of questioning as we forgot a battle for the lead here, Tom.
Every single lap, Alessandrini, he pushes the issue. This time is going to go through. Gooden holds the outside and now has the inside for turn number 10. But I think Alessandrini's probably got the momentum. Look at this, side by side. Austin Cobb maybe is going to join the battle 3 wide into 1.
Oh boy, that's going to be dicey. 3 wide for the lead here in the GRIDLIFE SimCity Challenge presented by Valvoline. Cobb backs out. They still left him a little bit of space, but Gooden and Alessandrini still door to door, Cayman to Cayman for first place.
Wow, these guys have intercepted each other in the sim racing communities before, but the amount of trust between the two of them to do that is incredible as Alessandrini finally closes the door coming through the exit of turn number 2. Gooden forces the issue as Alessandrini runs wide. Whoa, I think they might have almost touched coming into 3, but now Alessandrini to the lead.
Cobb pushing the issue here and pressuring Gooden to find an opening to get back by Alessandrini. It's never a guarantee that he'll stay locked in this fight. He might be able to drive away, but Gooden is going to keep the pressure on. DJ a little bit wide on the turn in there, and Gooden is right to the back bumper again. Not an inch between these two.
The nature of this track with this long back straightaway is that you just don't really get the opportunity to get away, but Gooden has a run up the outside that Alessandrini never really got. Look at how already alongside they're completely axle to axle. Maybe Gooden could repeat what Alessandrini was last time able to do around the outside.
Oh, that's tight into turn 8. Gooden has the half the nose the head. The half the nose the head.
Then head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Yeah, exactly. Into turn 10 now.
It's a carbon copy of last time. Cobb is going to try the up and the inside again. Gooden gets shoved off. Cobb has contact with Alessandrini as well.
Oh, all bets are off now. A little bit of argy-bargy, as Calvin Fish would say, and Alessandrini hangs on to the lead. Gooden's going to get shuffled out again.
I have to imagine there's a little bit of karma there after the sloppiness of last week for Gooden, but he gets shuffled back to 5th and is now completely clean back onto the racetrack, promoting Kyle Herbst up into 4th, but we're still side by side for the lead.
Here comes Cobb now. He made his first GLTC start in a turbocharged Miata at Road America a couple days ago here in iRacing. He's been here for a while and now battles for the lead again.
Over under beautifully in turn number 3, now down into turn number 4. Cobb breaks early, is going to tuck back in line, trying not to let Darling get through. Alessandrini, Cobb, Darling are the top 3.
And here comes Kyle Herbst into the mix. This is a McLaren. Now, this is what you mentioned earlier. Bringing a different car into the fight is really going to mix everything up, Tom, because these front 3 are essentially spec racing. Throw the fast rocket ship of a McLaren into the mix, all bets are off.
And again, the McLaren, depending on the way you set it up, it can either come strong at the end of the race, or if you set it up to be quick on the start, will fall away. But it looks like Herbst has really done a good job setting this thing up and is now in the battle as Cobb looks to the outside. We've seen this happen every single lap, but I don't think Cobb's going to actually make anything work this lap. Oh, he was going to make a liar of me.
Into turn 9, he's got the advantage, a big enough one to keep the lead from Alessandrini. Not quite. DJ keeps the overlap into turn 10. And they run door-to-door now on corner exit. Here comes Paul Darling into the mix. Who's he going to push? Nobody. He gets squeezed by DJ, and Cobb gets the lead away.
Again, Apex V2R, Austin Cobb Sim Racing team, is based right here. He's got home turf incentive to try to win this thing, and he's going to drive away, as now we've got a really good battle for 3rd. Kyle Herbst is coming alive in the blue McLaren.
Oh, look out. Darling slides on the curb. Here comes Gooden to the inside to try to grab 4th back from Darling. And tucked in. He's kind of boxed in here. Nowhere to go.
I love the first half of this lap. Every single corner, the opposite direction. You can run either line, and as long as you hang the outside, you get the inside for the next. Gooden had the inside up through turn number 3. Now the outside for turn 4, but look at this. Inherits the inside for turn number 5. Whoa, super deep. Grabs curb on the inside. Is going to have to tuck in.
Yeah, not really much opportunity, but Darling leaves the door open, and Wyatt Gooden is going to capitalize on that. Now a drag race up the backstretch, and Pilata brings a BMW, the highest running Bavarian Batmobile, into the mix here. The black and M4 decals on it as he climbs up behind the 4th and 5th place car.
The turbo inline 6 just chugging down the back straightaway, but not really able to make up a lot of ground, surprisingly. The McLaren is driven away as the battle for the lead is not going anywhere. Guys, we still have 6 laps to go.
I love Mosport. I love Mosport so much. Alessandrini closes the door and gets back by Cobb.
Kyle Herbst has run these two down. The more they do that side-by-side shenanigan, the more the Kyle Herbst is going to become a problem for both of them, as we still have essentially the top 9 in the hunt.
And Kyle Herbst is going to be really dangerous, especially if these two continue to fight. But if they get in line and work together, are they far enough away, Tom?
I don't know that they're. I was going to point out, just listen to the whoosh of the McLaren up towards turn number 2. You heard it as we jumped on board. Just so effective sounding, but it looks like he rounded a little bit wide in turn number 2, dropped off of the battle for the lead. So now it's kind of become a 2-car battle just that quickly between Alessandrini and Cobb.
Those two continue to scrap. It's 1 full second behind them. Here comes Wyatt Gooden on a mission. Ooh, to the rear bumper and squirrels up Herbst a little bit in 5.
I don't know when he got by Darling, actually. Gooden has moved his way up to 4th sometime when we looked away, or at least when I looked away.
Cotter's lingering here in 7th. And Carter Kundinger, another McLaren, is in the background, but here comes Cobb again. Does he have enough of a run this time? I think they might work. No, I was going to say that they might work together a little bit, but it doesn't look like it.
Well, even still, they could be working together because, again, that high side allows you to maintain momentum, but a little bit of a touch at the apex of turn number 8 as they transition back into turn number 9. Cobb maybe not quite realizing where the front of that Porsche is. Hard to see on a computer screen, really. But now coming into 5 to go, 4 this time across the line.
Oh, and here comes Gooden to the inside of Herbst, but had to slam the door on Paul Darling in the process. And this battle for 3rd is going to solidify those front 2. Whoa, they're going to slide.
Did we just see Kyle Herbst's light switch on the tires switch from on to off with that McLaren? I think we might have, as he's now completely gone to defensive mode on the rest of the cars behind him. He's just trying to cling on for a podium.
You want to talk about cork in the bottle? Well, this champagne's about to spray. Wyatt Gooden, Darling, Pilata, Highcotter, Kundinger, Stacy, all in this mix. It's basically 3rd through 9th in one grouping here. Cobb is lingering behind Alessandrini. But without the pressure from behind, I wonder if that's going to kind of make him stuck there for now. We'll see.
I don't know that they'll do much differently, but I think the pressure is off for the top two. Look at the lights flashing on Gooden. He wants past Kyle Herbst, who is, I think, just lost a little bit of the sparkle from that McLaren. He's just lost a little bit of the pace that car had, but he still has the point. Gooden around the outside is going to force the issue big time.
Oh, that's dicey, and Gooden is through. Herbst is back a spot now. Darling smelling the blood in the water. Through turn 10. Here he comes. Yeah, Herbst definitely has overdriven those rear tires. He's falling into the clutches of Darling.
Again, just having practiced in that McLaren just a bit, that's the car that I chose to drive just to experience what this was going to be like. It was so set up depending on when the car came alive. It looks like that car was strong with maybe 8 to 5 laps to go. Unfortunately, we're outside of that window and the McLaren is floundering.
Andrew Pallotta in the highest running BMW at the moment. The only one inside the top 10 even, but now wants the top 5. He's got 2 drivers in front of him. Just has to pass one to move his way inside the top 5.
You can make the outside work here through turn number 4. Darling floats the speed, is going to have the inside line up into turn number 5. Pallotta tries to go with them, thinks better of it.
And here comes Highcounter up the inside of 5B, forces Pallotta to run wide, and that kills momentum for the back straightaway. So that will save Darling and Herbst for now, but Herbst falls to 5th. And here comes Austin Cobb. That's a big run.
What a cool racetrack. I cannot wait. Someday, Grid Life has to go here in real life. I'm going to put that into the universe to make it work because this is such a cool racetrack. But Cobb has the run, has the point, in fact, as he now pinches Alessandrini to the inside of turn number 8. Maybe he's going to get the spot.
Well, last time he did it this way through turn 9. This is the critical corner. If you can be about 3/4 ahead here, you might be able to hang on through turn 10 now. Door to door, 2 laps to go here at Mosport.
Oh, and that's quickly brought Wyatt Gooden back into the battle. He had shuffled back to 5th, now up to 3rd, and is challenging for the lead once more. Cobb around the outside of turn number 1 will inherit the inside for turn number 2. That will easily secure the 36th lead, but now it's going to be Wyatt Gooden up the inside of Alessandrini, who lifts. That is a smart move, I think, from Alessandrini. Don't force the issue.
Yeah, well, he's going to let Gooden get through. And now will Gooden kind of stir the pot here and mix up the brew for a photo finish at the checkers here at Mosport. Oh, big lateral slide for Gooden and Alessandrini as they try to chase Cobb. Great battles up front here. It's all Porsche, but we saw the McLaren run very, very well, and BMW is keeping pressure on the top 5 for the moment.
Again, this round is our only multi-make round. Next week we race the Porsche 992 GT3 Cup car, which is essentially another spec race at the A1 GP circuit, the Red Bull Ring. That will be our final remote round before we go to SEMA.
Here is Alex Artea, Street GT champion, and, well, as we say that, Marc-Antoine Blaise, who's running behind him, gets himself into trouble. Here comes Gooden to the rear tailpipes of Austin Cobb.
And this is why it was smart for Alessandrini to back off, because as these two now start to bicker, Alessandrini will get the opportunity to make a run. As we come to the white flag, he's only got one more look at this one, but from 3rd, I think you can really do something here.
Last lap, one more time around Mosport. Gooden and Cobb are the ones in the mix. Alessandrini is lingering in behind to pick up the scraps when they start fighting.
And they've broken away the top 4. Don't forget about Paul Darling there in the background with the yellow and black. But Austin Cobb for Apex V2R, based out of Canada, wants to win this round. Just came off of his first Grid Life Touring Cup weekend ever. Can he win in the Sim City Challenge?
Gooden is right in the mix now. It's all going to come down to turns 8, 9, and 10, as it always seems to do here at Mosport. But those corners are set up in such a way that it's very easy to get it over your head and make a move that will take out your competitor. And that's why Alessandrini is in a great spot in 3rd, and they're going to touch for the lead again.
Gooden getting really rowdy. That is completely not really... Sorry, not okay. Absolutely not okay. But up the inside now, he's going to try to make it work, at least for on-track position, barring any sort of post-race stuff. Cobb to the outside. Alessandrini is going to push him. Those two working together, not happy with what they've seen.
Here comes Cobb to the outside of Wyatt Gooden with the help from DJ Alessandrini into turn 8 now. Try to cling on. I'm not sure that that's going to work. They're going to have to do it in turn 10. 9's not going to work here, Tom. They got one more corner to do it. Wyatt Gooden through turn number 10. Here comes Cobb down the inside. He turns him.
Yep.
He spins. Cobb goes through, but here comes DJ Alessandrini. Drag race to the line. Austin Cobb will win. GridLife SimCity Challenge round number 2.
And sorry, but good for Austin. That's a completely acceptable move at that point in the race. And those two are going to finish in that order. Cobb, Alessandrini, Darling, the top 3. Herbst comes home 4th. Pilata for the BMW 5th.
Whew, boy.
What a race.
Wow. Well, that's what Turn 10 does. That's the nature of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. It's built in such a way that move is open and an opportunity.
Well, and it's not acceptable to do it unless you've gotten done dirty before that. And then
right.
At that point, you know what? Send it in there.
Well, he got the move with contact, and he got it served back with contact. So I think the world is even. The entropy of the universe continues.
The butterfly has flapped its
yes.
wings. What is that? The butterfly effect? What is that called?
Oh boy, you're
There's
really
a big word there.
Testing my vocabulary tonight, and it's not going so good. I just want to let you know that. All right, let's have a look at the race results here. Oh boy. Well, Austin Cobb does it for Apex V2R, home race win.
Killer.
For Austin Cobb.
Yeah, after I'm trying to remember where he was last week in the MX5s, but I think this is a good repeat for Alessandrini for sure. Winner of the MX5s, second in the GT4s. Cobb, do you remember where he finished in the Miatas?
No.
I don't either.
We can find that out. Probably.
We probably can. Darling also did well in the Miatas. Kyle Herbst, Andrew Pilata will round out the top 5. Kite Cotter keeping it in the top 6. Also had a killer round in the Miatas. And again, the top 16 on points will go through from this round to the SEMA as a remote competitor to race against the top 8 from the live competitors at GRIDLIFE GameNight at the Luxor.
Did Austin Cobb even race last week? I don't think he did.
Oh, he didn't. That's why we can't remember, which means last week will be his drop round. Well, he came out swinging in his first round of this SimCity Challenge. He will start the season off, in effect, with a win.
Wow. All right. Well, that's going to mix things up for sure. Again, you get to drop one of your 3 rounds. Alex Artea, top 15, notable finish for him. Peter Zhang, 16th. And looking down the rest of the order, this is where things start to collapse for some of the drivers. Darian Taggart out early, Jackson Robillard out early, Jack Tranter out early as well. But wow, what a battle, what a race. Man, this is always exciting here, Tom. And what about this racetrack? Yeah, GRIDLIFE Mosport, when does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, the whole chat's wondering, like, when are we going to Canada?
Well,
come on. I mean, I guess when they open the border is when we get
probably.
to go.
They have to knock on Adam Jabay's motorhome door and probably beg and plead for a little while before that's possible. But finishing things off here from the GRIDLIFE SimCity Challenge, round 3 is next week on Tuesday at 9 o'clock Eastern. Now, again, if you'd like to participate, you can head to the GRIDLIFE Facebook or the GRIDLIFE Gaming Discord. Where can you find that information? Grid.life. Hit the gaming tab. You'll find your way to the GRIDLIFE SimCity Challenge. You've still got opportunity to make up some points, and who knows, you might be able to get yourself in. So give it a try. At least come party with us next week in the 992. Regardless of points, it's going to be a blast at the Red Bull Ring, Tom.
It's going to be so much fun, and I have not heard a bad thing about that car. So if you haven't played iRacing since the 992 Cup car has come out, absolutely worth joining us for. That race is going to be so much fun. And if not, just tune in and watch with us. I think, Kyle and I have a good time watching. You will too.
Man, I have a lot of fun watching. My blood pressure's high now, though. I'm going to go take a bit of time to relax. Had a busy day.
Bath salts, take off the suspenders.
Yeah, exactly. That's the suspenders of that's what I'm well known for wearing, that's for sure. Suspenders and a polo.
There you go.
All right, that's it for the GRIDLIFE SimCity Challenge round number 2. Thanks to Valvoline again for the support. We'll see you guys next week for the last points round before our season finale at the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas. We'll see you next time here from GRIDLIFE.